Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. Unfortunately, in this edition, we'll be talking about a heavy defeat to our biggest rivals, Arsenal. Arsenal 4, Tottenham Hotspur 1 at the Emirates Stadium. If you're watching on YouTube, X or Facebook, please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and let us know how you are feeling about the future of Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank in his press conference just said, you've got to remember, last season we finished 17th. Now, as I mentioned, Arsenal 4, Spurs 1. Trossard put in the hosts 1-0 up after 36 minutes. Eze, of course, could have been a Spurs player this season, but he signed for our rivals Arsenal. He made it 2-0 after 41 minutes. Then, straight after the break, he made it 3 on 46 minutes. Richarlison then scored a goal from 45 yards out after 55 minutes. And then Eze got his hat-trick after 76 minutes. Now, Arsenal extend their lead at the top of the Premier League by 6 points. Chelsea, of course, are in second with 23 points from 12 games. Spurs have now dropped to 9th in the Premier League table, and we're only 3 points above 15th right now. And, of course, we face PSG in the Champions League on Wednesday and then back in Premier League action next Saturday at home against Fulham. Now, the match facts and stats. Arsenal, 57.2% of the ball to Tottenham's 42.8%. XG, Arsenal 1.88 to Tottenham's dreadful 0.07. And I might add, at half-time, the XG for Spurs was 0. And also at half-time, 0 shots on target. But at full-time, Arsenal had 17 shots. Spurs only had 3 shots on target. Arsenal 8, Spurs 2. Other stats, total touches inside the opposition box, Arsenal 27, Tottenham 4. Goalkeeper saves, Arsenal 1, Spurs 4. Aerial duels 1, Arsenal 15, Spurs 12. Fouls committed, Arsenal 11, Spurs 15. And corners, Arsenal had 4 to Tottenham's 1. We're going to get into it. Now, as I mentioned about the XG, now based on XG that Spurs created, Tottenham would only score once every 17 games if that match was replayed. And this was Tottenham's lowest XG since records began. Arsenal 2.14, of course the score 4-1, and Tottenham 0.06. Now, after the game, Thomas Frank said we can only apologise to the fans for the performance. Vicario has also come out and said, sorry to the fans, this isn't good enough. I've got 3 very special guests with me, 3 channel regulars. We've got Craig Dearman back with us. Craig, how are you? What did you make of the game?
I was better at about 4:30 when I was actually looking forward to the game. But yeah, no, it's pathetic performance again. Embarrassing. How can you go to the Emirates and not even put up a fight? We were set up. Frank put us out in the first half, certainly, just not to lose. Not to concede. That didn't work. It was never going to work. It's boring football again. The XG, as you say, people don't like XG, but it is what it is. Look, 0 in the first half. It's never heard of. The players don't seem to know what they're doing. Big holes in midfield, nothing up front at all. Our goal came about by just a mistake by Arsenal. Good finish from Richarlison, absolutely, but that's the only thing that he did all game. To be fair to him, he didn't get much service either. The whole thing's just, I don't know where we go from here, to be honest. It's not like things get any easier on Tuesday, to be honest, or Wednesday, is it? I've lost track of days when we play PSG. So, yeah, not good, mate.
We've also got Ricky Norwood back with us. Ricky, how are you? And what did you make of that performance today?
Oh, Chris, fuming, mate. I'm just happy that we had a little break before we came onto the pod. You know, I managed to have a brandy and a half, maybe 2, because just to simmer down and to calm down again, because the performance was utterly atrocious, mate, in a North London derby at their house. I've been very confused about what type of side we are under Frank right now. I know that it's a different job, and you know, I've said to the boys as well. In his credit, a lot of the fans were asking for a manager to come in to be adaptable, to change it on the fly, to have different systems for different teams, and but to be defensively cohesive and solid. And there's a manager that's come in to try and do that. You can see that there's some foundations being put in the early couple of games. But when you see performances like that, mate, I mean, I can't believe that we beat the XG for that Chelsea game. I honestly, and this is becoming a trait now as well. This type of negative anti-football is becoming a trait. Not one part of the plan worked today at all. To go free at the back did not work at all. The wing backs, it just became a back five. Putting Spence out there to cover the tricky, fast wingers and to look after Trossard instead of Porro didn't work, because now we've got nobody that can cross the ball from that side. There were so many things that just did not work and fell absolutely flat. The first half was atrocious. It was diabolical that we came out and had no fight, had no thought about passing forward whatsoever. Gary Neville had it spot on when he was describing what Tottenham were doing. As soon as we went one goal down and this frustrating type of football come in, time wasting, silly free kicks, fouls, and just trying to frustrate them and be negative. We were defending for that whole first half. We couldn't string two passes together in their half and create anything. It was a really undefensible type of performance, because now, yes, we're early in Frank's reign, but this is definitely a tactical decision. That was a tactical lineup. It was a tactical decision to go out there, and not once did it work. And then when it was time to come out, go into for half time and then change it up and to be adaptable and to go on the front foot and to play forward, he didn't do it. Within a minute of the second half starting, we go another goal down. It was an utterly embarrassing performance. We've lost North London derbies before, some unluckily, some where we've shot ourselves in the foot. But way of losing. You've got to go out on your shield and you've got to be up for these type of games. And we didn't lay a punch on them again. After Chelsea, to have this type of performance, ridiculous, mate. Ridiculous. And not that I'm saying Frank out, but that is one of that. You can look at that performance and say that is a sackable performance, because I don't know where, like Craig said there, I don't know where we go from here right now. When you guys were describing it, saying a couple of weeks back, talking about Conte ball and Mourinho ball, it was that for me today. It was utterly boring. We had nothing in the chamber, nothing to fire back with. There was once Plan A went out the window, there wasn't another plan, and this is supposed to be the man with the plan. For me, I would take, yes, Ange Ball, we conceded goals, but you know what? We went for it and we fought and we made our plan was to let the opposition worry about us. Even when we had 27 injuries and we was playing 17-year-olds, there was a will to fight and a will to win and to score more than them. And I don't know. I mean, you can't just blame injuries on that type of performance. That's a horrendous performance. So I'm still fuming. I'm trying to be calm. I might have to go and get another brandy. But cheese on bread, gents. I mean, I really don't know what that was. And it's one of the most flat, disappointing, boring North London derbies I've ever watched. And the fact that we got salt in the runes with an Eze hat-trick, my goodness, wow. Wowza. Wow.
Yeah, and in Friday's press conference, Thomas Frank was joking, saying Eze who? I think he'll probably regret saying that.
Yeah, he's going to have nightmares, Chris.
Yeah, for those people watching on YouTube, X and Facebook, you will see the images that I put up now, the video, right at the end of the game. Thomas Frank and Pedro Porro were the only two Spurs representatives coming over right close to the away end. The other players didn't come that close at all and walked off very, very disappointed and embarrassed. I should imagine. Si, the Fox is also back with us. Si, what did you make of that performance today?
Well, for me, I'm sorry to say it because I said it earlier in the week, it was wholly predictable because when we go to these places like the Scummerets or we go to Shamfield or the SW London Cheetahs away, we perform pathetically, don't we? We just haven't got the mentality to play at places like that. And also, if Thomas Frank sets us up in a 3-4-2-1, then he made errors from the start because first of all, if you're going to play with three at the back, you have to have Pedro Porro right and you have to have Destiny Udogie left. Otherwise, you've got no creativity, have you? Out wide, you've got nothing. So that was balls up from the start. And then the other thing is, if you're going to play that formation, you have to have a centre forward that can hold the ball up. Richarlison is just not good enough. All right, he got lucky with a goal, and it was lucky with a goal. Say it's skill, whatever. Yeah, take it however you want to do it. But we just don't have the mentality. And if it was for me, I would go straight and get Professor Steve Peters, who was the psychologist for the GB cycling team when we started to get really good at cycling in the Olympics and on the world stage, because he needs to sort the heads out of everybody at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, because we are just incapable of playing under any kind of pressure or intensity or against our rivals. And the other thing I'm with you, Chris, for the players to scuttle off down the pitch after all you guys give up to go there and support them, not just at the Emirates and around the country, quite frankly, is disgusting. It's absolutely appalling. This is all very well one thing, not liking the result, but for especially in away games, no, I'm not having that. It's not good enough. So, it was wrong from the start. The players' attitude is never right. And I think I said to you earlier, I saw a pre-match video with Paul Miles and Thomas Frank saying what we need in this game is aggression. Well, he must have spoken in Danish to the players and they not understood a bloody word of it, because there was no aggression in that whatsoever.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And talking about the away end, I think right at the end of the game, actually, it's about me and about 100 people left in the away end. There weren't many people there at all. So Thomas Frank coming over and applauding the fans. There wasn't a lot of people left. A lot of people left the Emirates when it went 3-0. And then certainly when the fourth went in, a lot of people left after that. But when you mention that aggression, and when you go back to Thomas Frank's press conference on Friday, he's coming out, especially in our last few games in the Premier League, the Chelsea home game, the Manchester United home game, and now this game away at Arsenal. He seems to come out with these phrases of him feeling really confident that we are going to perform well. And he also said, now I'm going to paraphrase here, he said, we definitely won't be going for a 0-0 at Arsenal. Tell me what the game plan is. And when you look at those games that I've just mentioned there, the second half against Chelsea, the first half we had one shot on target. The second half we had 0 shots on target. And I remember putting, when we were in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I remember putting the stats up saying the XG was 0.06. Ricky actually started laughing because he thought the stat was wrong. It was absolutely ridiculous because we're breaking these ridiculous stats. And the first half against Manchester United, 0 shots on target. Today's game, Arsenal, 0 shots on target. And as I mentioned right at the intro, 0 shots on target, 0 shots. But most importantly for me, XG, 0. XG, 0.
Yeah, well, it's a number of factors breaking that down. First of all, Thomas Frank is making himself look stupid with all these pronouncements of aggression and, what we're going to do, and the players are up for it and this, that and the other, because they quite frankly are incapable of doing what he's saying they can do. So where is the breakdown there? Is it that they're refusing to do what he's asking them to do, or is he just so height of what their capability is. I mean, look, we know we've got quality problems within that squad anyway. And, for me, I've prattled on about the fact that we have 4 left-footed players in a squad of 25, which is 16%, which is never enough. So we've got issues with the personnel. But for me, they're either blatantly not doing what he's asking them to do, or he's deluding himself at how good they are. I can't come up with any other answers to it. And the other thing is, confidence must be shot if they can't take shots or won't take shots, or they're not playing the way that he wants them to do. And also, but I just don't think you can go to Arsenal with a 3-4-2-1 and not have Pedro Porro creating shots. And he said on Friday as well, Chris, that Richarlison, he's kind of complaining that he doesn't get any balls across the box to get on the end of. What did we do today? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just, I can't fathom it. But they're either too scared to play, or he's deluded at how good they are, or they're doing something in training that they just can't produce on a football pitch when the pressure's on. And that's where it comes down to for me. It's mentality, and they haven't got the minerals to cope with, playing against big teams. I don't know what else to say.
We've now got a very quick 2-minute clip hearing now from Thomas Frank on the performance. After this, I'm going to come to every one of you to get your thoughts on Thomas Frank as Tottenham boss right now.
Thomas, needless to say, a tough day here.
Yeah, unbelievable, tough, painful day in every aspect. It's I 100% feel the pain. I understand all the fans feel the pain, and especially because the performance were not good, which is disappointing. It was not what I expected. I was actually extremely confident going into this game. We would be competitive. I knew it would be tough in every aspect. I didn't say we would go here and just completely dominate, but I knew we could be competitive, which we weren't on the day, unfortunately. And I can only apologize for that. It's my responsibility in every aspect. We especially first half, I think, wanted to go more after them. We never really managed to do that, to get close enough to put the high pressure. And when they went long, to win the second ball and play from there, it was too few occasions.
Yeah. I mean, the goals did seem to knock us a little bit as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they had the ball a lot in the beginning of the game, but they didn't create a lot. And then the first goal came, and then after that, if you can avoid the second one, go to halftime, because we know in games that can be very tough spells. You get through them, and then you get back in the game a little bit on momentum, but we didn't manage to do that today.
I know, look, football, you deal with these sort of things, but how do you pick them up from here? Then we go to the European Championship in a week, don't we?
Yeah, of course, that's the thing. But as I say, 24 hours rule. We need to be disappointed, painful, suffer, and then we need to move forward again. That's the only way thing. That is stand up again, go forward. When you have a big hit, you need to show resilience and go again.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Craig, let's come to you on Thomas Frank's comments there. And I also want to repeat what I said at the very start. He actually came out in post-match press conference that I'm just uploading now to YouTube, stating, you have to remember, we finished 17th last season.
Yeah, we did finish 17th last season, but I don't think you can... I'm not seeing vast improvements on last season other than where we are in the league, which we're not going to be where we are in the league if we keep playing like that. I think Thomas Frank actually is a good manager, but I'm not convinced he's ever going to be the right fit for Tottenham. I was never fully convinced he's the right fit for Spurs. But in his defence, I think there's a lot that rests on the club as well with this. I don't think he's got the right players in yet. It's difficult because we've got players out in that squad that could perhaps do something different, but I'm not convinced we're going to play massively different. We've kind of gone from one extreme to the other. Ange was obviously we know the sort of football he played, to Frank now seems incredibly pragmatic and boring. I'm going to say it again. It was boring to watch. Shocking performance. Probably the worst North London derby performance I've ever seen. You can't go into the biggest game of the season for both clubs playing like that. I'm sorry. And you can't set us up like that. You could the three at the back part, I kind of agree with. But somebody like Lucas Bergvall, if he's fit, he's got to play. Why didn't Bergvall come on? There's so many mistakes tactically in that match today. Things he did wrong, in my opinion. I'm not sure where we go, Chris, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever come on this podcast. I must have done 150 plus podcasts. I don't think I've ever come on here and said for a manager to go. I don't even think under Nuno I said that. But it's getting to that point, and that I feel bad saying that for Thomas Frank, because I think he's a good manager at the right club. I'm just not convinced he's ever going to be the right manager at Spurs. But as I say, I think a lot of that rests with the club as well. I'm not convinced that the players aren't buying into this with Frank. It's a huge change from last season. I wouldn't say he's lost the dressing room as such, but that you can just see the players just don't know what's expected of them sometimes. I think Javi should have started today. We needed something. And as soon as that lineup came out, I wasn't convinced at all that we were going to be in any way creative today. So,
but the thing is, Craig, when he comes out and says about you've got to remember that we finished 7th last season, what is he basically saying to us fans and the players? Oh, it'll be okay then if we finish 16th. That's an improvement.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it's just not acceptable. We finished 17th last season for a reason. Even down to that last day when we lost the last game, we could have actually finished, I think, something like 15th. And don't get me wrong, that's still a bad league position. But we finished that far down the table for a reason. And we won a trophy, which I think people seem to forget sometimes. So Ange basically fell on his own sword, didn't he? He sacrificed his own position to get us silverware and risk everything to get us silverware. Now, that, in a funny sort of way, that is to dare is to do, isn't it? You're risking everything. You're risking your own job to get the club a trophy. And Ange did that. And people can say in the comments, yeah, Ange wasn't the way forward. Ange had to go. I get why the club got rid of him. Whether I agree with it or not is another thing. I get why they felt they had to act. But come on, would it have been this bad to watch us this season under Ange Postecoglou? And you're right, Chris. He's basically saying if we finish 16th, that's improvement. I'm sorry, it's not.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your take on Thomas Frank's comments there, because he said again those words that Si and I were talking about there a minute ago. That he was extremely confident going into this game.
For me, his words don't match his actions, Chris. We've got to the point where, I've listened to pre-game press conferences and sometimes I'll listen to the post ones, depending on the result. But his words don't match his actions, mate. Even the other day, there was a great video by James Alcott and Sky Sports where he's running through tactics and he's talking about tactics and changing and where to shoot from. And you go, what? He's an intelligent manager. He knows what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And it sounds really impressive. I remember there was another video before I think just as we signed him but he was talking about the substitutes, how he's already got them planned out for this scenario and that scenario. And then if that happens, then we can put this. So you kind of go, all right, and cool. He's a very intelligent manager. He, like I say, a lot of fans, the quality that he brings to Tottenham, a majority of fans were asking for that type of manager to come in last year and going into this year. And but for me, mate, it's like I haven't seen. It's a Jekyll and Hyde side. You look at Copenhagen and you can go, all right, and cool. A couple of one-touch passes, good goals, all right, maybe we can do something here. Then you look at Man United and you go, well, what is going on here? But then you look at something like Chelsea. And the thing is with the Chelsea game and the 0-0 XG and stuff like that, that's becoming a trait. I look at the Bodo Glint game, you know what I mean? It's becoming a trait here. The Monaco game, where we're just stupidly negative. It doesn't matter what side we're putting out. And when you see different formations go out there, different personnel go out there, and we are this negative, we are this anti-football. This is Tottenham Hotspur. This is Tottenham Hotspur FC. Like, I was watching clips of Ginola the other day. Like, I think there was like a video of his best goals for Tottenham, and you guys know I love Ginola. And the joy that I see, and some of the games we lost, you know what I mean, that he scored in, but some of the goals were fantastic, and some of the football at times, you know, was phenomenal. And having a player like that who used to take players on and used to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and he used to try and entertain us and try and get us off our feet. I just look at today and I go, what was that? It doesn't matter about injuries today. It doesn't matter about anything. When you look at today's lineup and today's tactics, which again has become a trait, 0.00 is a trait now, XG, Chris. That's a trait now for Tottenham at the moment, and Frank, and he's not doing anything to change it. But when you go up against our rivals, right, with basically 3 attackers, Odegaard, Kudus, and Richarlison. Odegaard, Kudus, and Richarlison. The rest are all defensive, all of them. Even Spence. Spence is on the right-hand side, but he's the more defensive right back than Porro, right? He doesn't put the crosses in. He tries to dribble and take a man on and try and be the winger, but we couldn't get the ball up there. So everything was negative. So when you see, and then nothing changed, mate. Nothing changed. So when I'm looking at this, it's a really tough road ahead for Frank to sort it out. This was an opportunity to have a response so that I can be here and us as fans can be here and go, you know what? All right, Chelsea, that was a blip. We can see what happens when it goes really, really wrong. But as the analyst, as the intelligent manager that he is, they've gone back, they've watched the videos, they've highlighted all of the points that went wrong, and they've brought it together. And now against the Gooners, we're going to show them what we're about. We're going to show them when we go to fight them. We're going to show them, you know, what's in our armory and how we're going to hurt their league title challenge and all of that. Bro, nothing. Like nothing. When I see nothing, what am I supposed to say? He's building up a catalogue of tactical decisions and games that are sackable offences, you know. And I'm not saying to sack him, but I'm saying they are sackable offences.
Ricky.
So, yes,
Ricky,
mate, go on. Sorry, Dove.
I think it's very fair to say that we've been recording this podcast for many years, and I would say that you are probably the most positive Spurs fan that comes on this show, especially on a regular basis, right? And sometimes people get a bit annoyed by you being positive about some of our defeats in the past. I think that's very fair to say, right? I want to know, you know, talking to our most positive guest, talking to our most positive regular, guy on here, I want you to give me the positives that you have seen so far in Thomas Frank. Are you confident that he can turn these results, these performances, this XG, the lack of creativity, can he turn it all around? Because I get what you guys have said so far. And it's funny because I'm going to reference this Sky Sports interview that I did straight after the Manchester United game. I called the football boring, and I got absolutely hammered on X saying, how on earth can you be calling Thomas Frank's football boring, blah, 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 blah. Got absolutely slagged off. You know, like there's no tomorrow in saying that statement. I've seen a lot of those statements today after today's game, pretty much agreeing with me, but not on that post, obviously. There are a lot of unhappy people. There are a lot of people that want to be entertained, and we're not being entertained at the moment. Like Craig and Si said earlier, you know, particularly our motto, to dare is to do. We're not daring and we're not doing. But are you confident in the future down the line, if the fan base, if the football club, etc., give him the backing, you know, give him time, patience, etc., are you confident that that creativity will come? Because Thomas Frank has said on numerous occasions that, you know, he has run entertaining teams. His teams have scored a lot of goals. You know, like those games that I've mentioned, the Chelsea one, the Manchester United one, this one. He's gone into these games feeling and saying that he feels extremely confident that we are going to perform.
But this is what I'm saying, Chris. His words don't match his actions, and this is what's being mismatched for me. When all right, cool. I know people have got their beef with Ange. Do you know what I mean? It's like I know
I'm not mentioning Ange.
I am.
Yeah,
because one of the things that he said, mate, was, you know, I always win in my second season. When he said that, and in the context that he said that, wowza. And then he goes and does it, right? One of the things that I heard when Frank turned up is, yes, we will lose games. And I'm like, yo, do you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, all right, yes, realist, but okay, all right. So I can only go on the things that I've seen, right? And the things that I've heard and I've seen. So watching and reading, there has been some positive aspects. I mean, I haven't seen much of it, but there have been some positive aspects.
Sorry, Rick. Can I just say, Carlo's written here, I want to win, not be entertained. Well, of course, that is another really good point, because if you are winning, you know, I've had conversations with Arsenal fans over the last couple of weeks that they're saying that their football isn't the most entertaining, but when they're winning, when a team is winning, you kind of forgive that style sometimes, don't you?
Well, we've been here before. We've been here under Mourinho and we've been here under Conte, where we said the same thing, right? Because we was in desperate need, especially when Conte came in. We was in desperate need of a change and somebody to grab us by the scruff of the neck and change the direction of play, because we was a sinking ship at that point under Nuno. It was one of those lost moments. So when Conte came in, we're like, okay, cool. And we were saying these things in the sense that, okay, it doesn't matter how we win as long as we win. But then what happened? It got stale very, very quickly. Same thing happened under Mourinho. Look, and there were some good games. There was some entertaining games there. One of the Guna games under Conte in his first season, you know, fantastic game. But then what happened? It went downhill very, very quickly, and we became very, very negative and very, very anti. And I remember being on here with you, Chris, with you, Craig, at times, not with you, Si. I don't remember too many miserable ones with you. Normally, I have a giggle with you. That's why, Si. But I, you know, I've definitely had miserable podcasts with these two. You know what I mean? Up here,
too many.
Too many, right? Where I have been bored to watch, to even look at the TV. You know, I'm doing other things. You know, I'm scrolling on my phone, or I'm texting you guys in the group chat or something. Because I'm like, what we're not throwing a punch, and it feels like Groundhog Day again. Now, Chris, you mentioned about the comment that you said a couple of weeks ago about the football being boring. Even when you said that to me, right? I was like, oh, okay, because I could see some good things and I could see some not so good things, and I'm like, we're in our infancy. But today I saw it. I think Craig mentioned Conte ball a couple of weeks ago, and it was today that I saw it. So, like, sometimes it takes a minute to see it. But what I would say, in your credit, well, for me anyway, watching in the stadium and being in the stadium is totally different to watching it at home. When I watch it at home, I feel that I can analyze the patterns and the rhythm and see more, because there's cameras everywhere. But when you're in the crowd and when you're at the stadium, me as well, because I'm, you know, somebody will tap me and I'll say hello, or, you know, I'll get wrapped up in looking at what's happening on the bench. You know, I'll get distracted because I love it.
All the birds walking around the pitch, Rick.
I don't know what you're talking about, Si. Stop looking at me. Stop grassing me out. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to stay quiet, right? Goodness gracious, Si. No, but yeah, you know, you see, there's things that you miss. But I think, Chris, I think what is really unique with you, which I've always said year in, year out, is that you go home, away, you know, league, cup, under 21s, under 16s, women's, the lot, right? You did a lot. And when you're saying being in the stadium, when you're saying you're bored, I think that's a good kind of indicator of what's happening right now. You know, because I think you're a good judge of what's going on, because you go all the time, mate.
So, out of the three of you, who is confident that this will change, this style will change? I get all the comments, because we're now getting a few comments on YouTube now saying, give Thomas Frank time. Under Ange, it was kamikaze football.
Okay.
Yes, it's going to be more defensive under Thomas Frank. I'm asking everybody the question now, including all of the viewers and listeners. Are you confident that this is going to change when our creative players come back? Will this style change? Will we be an entertaining football side again? Will we win more football matches? Are you confident that that's going to happen?
Chris, today was the worst indictment of what we are as a side.
But I haven't only asked today. I've asked many other times as well.
But I know, bro. But what I'm saying is that if you can't go out to fight today against the Gooners, right, then this is how we're going to go. So what happens at PSG? What happens at every big team now? Are we going to be this ultra defensive? Are we going to play this way? We need to, if this is up to Frank, okay? Frank wanted the big job. Frank wanted more than one game a week. This is up to Frank to show us. We can only go on what we've seen. And every time it comes up against a game that matters, we've gone backwards, apart from PSG Super Cup and Man City, first game. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
but I don't know. Si, come on.
Before you come in and have your point, Chris writes here, if Thomas Frank can't turn this around, who can?
Go on, Si.
Well, just make a couple of points. First of all, people saying we're being negative. If you don't want us to, I don't want us to tell it how it is, then you'd have to watch something else because you can't be anything other than negative about that, can't you?
We lost 4-1.
Exactly, we lost 4-1 for Christ's sake. Anyway, but do
you know what? And other 4-1 defeats, Ricky's come on here and he's given all the positives. Then people have still slagged him off.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it was different losing 4-1 to Chelsea than it was that capitulation today, wasn't it? Let's be honest. And just touching on a little point Craig made about saying it's the worst North London derby he's never seen. Well, I was there in 1978 when we lost 5-0 at home on December the 23rd, and not even an action man with gripping hands and eagle eyes could make my Christmas any better, to be perfectly honest. And I've also seen Arsenal win the league at White Hart Lane, which is absolutely horrific. Anyway, that's but coming back to where we are, look, we have got the worst forward players that I have seen at this football club for a very long time. Now, if you took Mbeumo and Sharda and Wissa from Brentford last year and put it into our team of this year, we would be better. But I can't have it that Wilson Odebear and Matisse Tell and Richarlison et al. Are good enough. And therefore, the only creative player we have at the moment is Xavi Simons. And again, I go back and say, right, Lewis's, cut your bullshit and buy some players that are good enough to make us better. You can't keep having it every which way. Chris, how many times have we said too short Tottenham at the end of every transfer window? How many times? It's just like Groundhog Day, season after season after season, and it's endemic at the club. And you go back to Mourinho. We had players that weren't Mourinho players. We didn't buy Conte players. We didn't buy as many Ange players as he wanted. If you really want to go down that route, it's just the same. It's Groundhog Day over and over. And like I said, we still haven't addressed the mentality of the club, for me, whereby the players aren't mentally strong enough to cope. And that's the bottom line. But this bunch of forwards at the moment, or the creativity that we haven't got, because I'm not going to say we have it. Bentancur a creative player? No. Sarr a creative player? No. Just go through and they're not creative players. And unless we address these issues full on, and also I blame the club over time, we had no clear plan for the succession for Kane and Son. They were always going to go one day. What did we do? Richarlison was the heir apparent to Kane, was he? Excuse me, you're having a laugh. And if you think that someone like, whomever you want to pick is going to come in and hit the ground running, it doesn't matter whether it was Xavi or anybody else, they take time to acclimate to the team and learn the patterns. It's just not going to change. And like I said, we have the same Groundhog Day at Spurs every summer, every window. And I will be judging the Lewises by what they do, or moreover, what they don't do from here on in. But I'm sorry, we are exactly playing like the team that we are, mid-table Premier League team, because that's the quality that we have. And in previous seasons, we had prime Kane and Son to bail us out of most stuff. Now, if that's me being negative, then I'm being negative. But I'm just telling it as I see it.
I've never been called a negative fan before, Si. Before the last couple of weeks, I've never, ever in my life been called a negative fan. If anything, I'm often called out, like Ricky is, for being too positive as a fan. But I tell you what, I think if you can't see the problems within this squad and what Thomas Frank is trying to do at the moment, then I'm not going to sit here and spell it out for you. You know, you work it out yourself. But you know, some of us just see things, you know, straight off. And I, as a Spurs fan, you know, like I said about our motto, to dare is to do. At the moment, we're certainly not daring, and we're definitely not doing. So, you know, what next? Yeah. That is going to be the question. What
you
next?
asked the question, Chris. You asked the question of all of us. Can Frank turn it around? In my opinion, yes, he can turn it around, but you can't give plumbers a carpenter's tool to fix a leak, can you? You just can't. You've got to give him the players that he wants to play the way that he wants to play it. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And we've had this with manager after manager after manager. Same Groundhog Day.
So, Si, give me a very short answer. Going back to my original question, are you confident that we are going to be successful under Thomas Frank with this style of play that he wants to play at Tottenham Hotspur?
Yes, if he's given the players that he needs to play it. So whether he's going to play 4-3-3, 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, you have to give him the players or get some players back fit that would suit his system. You know, for me, Decky is the ideal Thomas Frank player in the middle of the park, no doubt about it. But is Decky going to be ready as soon as he comes back into the team? No, it's going to take him 2 months to get ready. But in direct answer to your question, Chris, yes, if you give him the right tools, he's more than a competent enough manager to get us to the top 6 of the Premier League. Is he capable of winning a league for us? I'll reserve judgment on that once I've seen what he can do when he has the full tools available to do what he wants to do.
Craig, you like me have probably been reading a lot of these comments here that people have been putting in the chat. It's very mixed, isn't it? A lot of people are against Thomas Frank. A lot of people are very for Thomas Frank. How are you feeling about the situation? And I'll ask you the same question. You know, what positives do you see that Thomas Frank has brought to Tottenham in his short time at the club so far? Yes, we're sitting here talking about a 4-1 defeat away at our biggest rivals, and it could have been a lot more. But the setup, the lack of creativity, where do you see this going?
I can only sadly see it only going one way, if I'm brutally honest. Look, I know not everybody's going to agree with me because that's football's subjective, right? We've all got our own opinions. That's what makes it so good. But I'm totally in disagreement to Si. I don't think even when he gets his players back, and I don't think it's going to change that much. Yes, I think the results might be a bit better, but I don't see it. I don't see Thomas Frank as a man taking us to this next level, which we've all kind of been promised. You know, I just can't see it. Ultimately, I can't see it. This style of football, the fans are not going to suffer this style of football. We would suffer it. We would suffer it if we were winning, like you said. But playing like we did today, and it's not just today I'm talking about. Let me get that straight. I'm not just talking about today's match. Today's match was abysmal. You've got to think about the other matches we've had. It was a bit of a false dawn at the start of the season. The PSG Super Cup game, I actually thought, wow, this could be really good. Lost it on penalties, could have gone the other way. It went to penalties. We could have easily won that, right? We shouldn't have let it slip the last 10 minutes, but we did. Hey-ho, it's just the Super Cup. First couple of games, okay, not too bad. But since then, can anybody honestly say that we've been, A, entertaining to watch, B, that you've seen any improvement at all? We was in a false league position in a way anyway because the Premier League is so tight. And you'll see us now, if we do lose 2 games, we'll be right down there. So how has it improved us since last year? Yes, we've had players out that are creative. Maddison, Kulusevski, we all know who. But Thomas Frank today had Javi on the bench. He started with Javi on the bench. He started with Bergvall on the bench. Massive holes in the midfield. That was tactical today, and Frank got it wrong. Look, I'm really sorry to be negative about this, but that's just how I feel at the moment. And I think a lot of the fan base are feeling like that. I've seen a lot turn after today. I think a lot of people were giving him today to see how he could improve the situation. And I totally get that he hasn't been backed properly. I totally get that. The Eze debacle, the Morgan Gibbs-White fiasco, it's not a pretty look for the club. But I personally think you should be getting more out of these players he's got at his disposal. Honestly, I do.
It's funny, Craig. Forgive me, I didn't catch the person's name who wrote the comment, but they said that we always praise the players when we win, but we blame the manager when we lose and things go wrong. It's funny because I don't know whether I've missed them. I asked all 3 of you, can you give me some positives about Thomas Frank? Did any of you actually give any?
I didn't get there, but for me, the positives that Frank has brought to Tottenham has been structure, has been defensive solidity, has been adaptation, even though the adaptation hasn't worked for us. But bringing that, to the table, he's also increased, and not that I want to play Stoke City football and just, free kicks and set pieces, but he has added that to our game, which has been a weakness for a long time. We couldn't take a corner or a free kick for a very long time, let alone a long throw-in. So he has brought things to the table, and he has improved us because in certain aspects of the game. But it knitting together and working and it being a fluid system or a fluid way of playing, we haven't really seen yet. We've seen little bits of it, like we said about Copenhagen and like the Burnley game at the beginning, the Man City game. And the PSG Super Cup game, we saw different formations, but we saw an attacking intent as well as being solid at the back. So you had that versatility there. But I don't know from when, but there's just been a point where it's just gone off a cliff, where our tactics and our way to win a game has gone out the window. It's been about control and a sideways pass and winning those free kicks, and I don't know what's really happened. So there are positives there, as in when you're building from scratch and when you're starting a new project, you need to sort out your foundations first. Once you've sorted out the defense and the foundations, it's very old school, but then you can put the roof on it and then you can move forward. But we're not seeing these moving forward right now. We've got a good defense, but we're not seeing this move forward and this change and this adaptability. I'm not cussing out Frank because I was an Ange fan. I'm cussing at what I see. I'm critiquing what I see, and from the small sample size. Frank, a bit like Craig, he wasn't my cup of tea when we were linked to him, let alone when we signed him. But as always, I give chance, and once they're wearing the shirt, I try and back them and I try and research them. And there were a lot of good things in that melting pot coming forward. We've seen a fraction of it, but we haven't seen anywhere near something that we can be excited about or back right now, because it is so mixed match from game to game. If you look at it, the win, the loss, and the draw, even that the Chelsea, Copenhagen, Man United, Gooners. You look at those 4 games and how different those 4 games are, as well as being, but you look at the Copenhagen game in the middle there, you go, all right, and cool. Well, you've strung some passes together, you built your confidence, so let's go and build it, and then it flops again. So it's so mixed match right now. It's hard to see it clicking because it hasn't clicked all season. But it's just, I don't know, Chris. I really. What do you think? You go, mate. You go. Give us your opinion. What was it like in the stadium today, man? How did you feel? Because I can't even drive past that stadium without looking the other way. So I don't know how you do it every season going there.
Do Ricky, and I agree with most or if not the whole lot of what you just did there, and you've all come up with some very good points. I think that that got me walking back to the car from the stadium today is that the Arsenal didn't even really celebrate the win today because they expected it. They expected to absolutely batter us. And Piers Morgan, I don't know if you want to talk, he's still going to back Tottenham and we're going to win the game 5. It's going to be an easy thing for them. And I feel like a lot of their fans felt like that before the game as well. I do take a lot of your points, actually. And Ricky, when I talk about Spurs this season, yes, we expect results. Yes, we expect a good performance. And even Thomas Frank said that, football is an end business. I don't feel like we've been entertained. I feel like away from that. I do take Simon's point, though, in the fact that we do need a much better squad. You could say, back in our transfer windows, yes, we've always been without. Yes, we haven't had enough in transfer windows. And this isn't just Thomas Frank. This is multiple different transfer windows over or under multiple different managers. But the lack of creativity, that cannot continue. And I do agree with Craig's point in the fact that the fan base, especially at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, will not stand for not having shots on target in entire halves of games. The Fulham game worries me next week because the PSG game, that's going to be an extremely tough one on Wednesday. I know we'll talk about that shortly, but then going back home against Fulham, who are very difficult to break on, and we've found that game difficult in as well. We're going to be expecting a win, and we need winning one as soon as possible. But defensive football, I'm not sure how exciting that is of playing the system that we are. But I agree with you, Ricky, in that I'm not sitting here saying Thomas Frank out, and I'm not sitting here saying change the manager, because I'm willing to give it time. But my big question, and I keep asking this week in, week out on every podcast at the moment, will it change? How confident are you of that change? How confident are you that when you get Kulusevski back, when you get James Maddison back, how confident are you that will change? Would we have been different today if we had Eze in our team? To get signings like that over the line, would it have been different for us today, or would it have been the same outcome? That is my question. So I'm willing to give it time, but overall, Ricky, what you've asked me, and you asked me this a week or so ago as well, when we lost to Chelsea, I haven't been impressed, and I'm certainly not being entertained. And I'll go back to that phrase again: to dare is to do. We're not daring, and I don't like the fact that we're not daring. You've got to be daring when you play for Tottenham Hotspur, and we're not doing either. So I hope that there is a dramatic change, and I hope that things are very, very different, because this can't continue all of these, 45-minute spells where we're not having a shot on target and we're not, creating enough, because that is simply not entertaining. And, like Thomas Frank said a couple of weeks ago, we are in the entertainment industry, and to be finishing, mid-table for me is not good enough, because all of us at the start of the season were talking about European spots, and we've got to be getting European football for next year.
Chris, one more, just while we're here on the subject, one more to you, Chris. All right, so I would love to ask you about the body language of the players, because going from in quote unquote entertaining Ange ball, and then we're going into this more controlled defensive mishmash of football under Frank. What are you seeing in the players on the field, mate? Because, at least I saw, even in defeats, I saw us playing for each other. Even when we was playing, 4 fullbacks in defence, or 17-year-olds in midfield, and youth players on the wing. I saw under Ange, I did see a family orientation. I did see a unity. I did see at least pull together. Yep. Maybe that was because Sonny was there, and Sonny ain't there now, and he's a big, massive part of that. But I don't personally, I don't see that connection and that family orientation that we had under Ange here right now, and especially going up against our fierce rivals. But you see it, bro. You're there in the stadium. Go.
I agree
Sorry.
with you. I agree with you. I agree. Absolutely agree with you. But it's a different era. It's a different manager. It's basically a different football club now, isn't it? The board have changed. There's been so many changes off the pitch, on the pitch. Everyone has changed. It's a different era. I suppose we need to have time and patience to see if this is going to work. I'm not going to be sitting here, like I said, I'm not going to be sitting here saying that I want Thomas Frank on, because where on earth would you go next? If you replace Thomas Frank. But what I would say on the football, and it's funny because when I said what I said a minute ago, there's a few comments come up saying Chris is just bitter about Ange Postecoglou getting the sack. Not all. When you actually think about it, Ange delivered us that trophy. When you look at the league position that we were in, it's probably the right decision. I didn't say that at the time, but when I've looked back, it's probably the right decision that Ange Postecoglou walked out the door. Would I have liked him here for a third season? I already said yes. But having thought about it again and again and again, it was probably the right decision that he did go. However, I loved Ange's way of attacking football. He knew exactly how us Spurs fans wanted things done. Defensively, we were really poor. Thomas Frank's come in, and I see a lot of positives in Thomas Frank, I must say, particularly when I went to pre-season. It was great. And the communication and everything is absolutely top-notch, first class. But we are so defensive now. So we have gone from attack to let's sort out not, conceding a goal. It's ironic we're talking about that because we conceded 4 and we could have probably conceded 10 today. But we are a lot more defensively solid. And I just feel like we need something in between. I hope that Thomas Frank will tweak that because, like he said many times, Ricky, he's had entertaining sides and his teams have scored a lot of goals, particularly at Brentford. And we've seen Brentford were an entertaining side, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have said Brentford were boring to watch, but anytime I watched them, I was entertained and I thought that they played well. And ultimately, they won and competed with some really, really top teams in the division. And that's what I want to see. Whether we have to be really patient with this, that might be the thing. We might.
I just don't see no bravery or any risk, mate. I don't see any gusto. Do you know? I don't see any strength, mate. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping it'll twist.
Yeah, but can I make a point on that? And that is that when you haven't got a Kulusevski or a Maddison or a Sonny in the team that would take the risk, that would try and do something creative, you're taking away from the team. And we've said it, we've been on here a lot of time, a lot of us have all said, if you take the creativity of Maddison, Sonny and Kulu and Solanke's goals out of the team from last season, it's not going to be the same, is it? We have to accept that. In my opinion, we've only replaced one of them at the moment, and that is Kudus. And then we decide to play him inside today, which is obviously Frank's decision. But you can't expect, in my opinion, Bergvall Sarr, Bentancur and player Polina, they are not creative players. They are not going to take risks. They're not going to do the things that a Kulusevski can. If you go back to when Kulu joined us, even if you take the goals that he scored or the chances that he's made over the time that he's been with us, it's a huge miss in the team. And the same with Maddison. For me, he has these games where he goes missing. We all know that. But that's when you want a Maddison playing, and if you don't do it, you pull a Kulusevski off the bench or a Xavi off the bench or a whomever off the bench. We don't have that. We don't have that strength in depth at the moment. We just don't. And until we fix some of those structural problems in the team, i.e. the creativity, i.e. having as much threat down the left-hand side as we do down the right, so that teams can't stack their defence against Kudus, because if you stop him, he's our only creative outlet. If you don't fix those problems, then you can't expect better results than we're getting. And I'm just trying to be realistic about it. Yeah. What I would say, Chris, as well, though, is do I think that Thomas Frank, right at this moment, is picking styles of play and teams that fit the players we've got? I have to say no. No, he's not.
The other thing, Si, perhaps I come to Craig on this one, that there is a big expectation, especially from the football club, that Thomas Frank has come in to improve players that we have got, to adapt to the formations that he wants to play in the systems that he wants to play. There is always that expectation that a manager like this, particularly what he did at Brentford, and it was said, by the chairman at the time when Thomas Frank came through the door, that he gets the best out of players. There is going to be a big expectation on that. It's all well and good us, sitting here saying, oh, we need to sign X, Y, and Z. Yeah, we all want top quality players and transfer windows. Thomas Frank was also asked this by journalists about, will Spurs ever, sign £100 million players? Talking about Declan Rice, the comparison of Spurs and Arsenal. And right now, Arsenal are miles ahead of us. Let's be frank and honest about it. But Craig, if we're talking about improving players, who would you say that he has improved so far, even if it is a little bit? And who would you say or feel confident about that he can get a lot more from in the near future?
I don't see much improvement in anyone. The only slight difference is that Mickey van der Ven has been on a couple of runs.
And people call me negative.
I know. And look, I'm really sorry. And all your questions you're asking me, I'm trying to think of positive things to say, but I just can't. I'm really sorry. I'm at that point where I just don't look. Certain managers fit certain clubs, right? I'm not saying Thomas Frank is a bad manager. He's not. He hasn't got where he got for being a crap manager. So anybody that says he's a crap manager, he's clearly wrong. What I'm saying is certain managers fit certain clubs. Thomas Frank, in my opinion, will never fit Tottenham Hotspur. Ange fitted us because he got us, like Ricky said, spot on. Poch got us. Redknapp got us. I don't think Thomas Frank, with the greatest respect for him, because he seems like a nice bloke, I just don't think he'll ever be a right fit for Tottenham Hotspur. And that's nothing against his coaching ability at all. I just don't think he's the right fit. And I think the club need to make some big decisions, because I personally don't think this is going to change. And as I say, I don't believe I've ever come on here and said I wanted the manager out. I'm not sure I'm quite at that point yet, but I'm honestly getting there. And the reason for that is I don't see this changing. I've watched this club for many, many, many years. And like I say, it's all subjective. We've all got our own opinions. It's brilliant. But I just can't see this changing. I know what Si's saying, give him the tools, and, you don't give a plumber a saw. I get that. I totally get all that. But I just can't see it working, and I'm gutted, because I don't want this. I don't want us to be thinking about and talking about managers getting the sack before Christmas. I thought, fair enough, we're getting a manager in, done wonders at Brentford. He could be this tactical genius, nice balance. Just doesn't seem to be working. I just can't see it. Just can't see it working, Chris.
Craig, let's go straight in and talk about one positive today, because I said it could have been 10. Vicario made a number of good saves, and it's not the first time this season that he has saved us from an absolute roasting in certain games.
You're right, and it was quite telling that the club slung out Vicario to talk to Sky Sports straight after the game. The one player that probably had a decent game, and it's embarrassing to say that when your goalkeeper's conceded. Well, I'm not even going to talk about the number we conceded. We know how many we conceded, but Vicario comes out, and it was interesting and quite telling that he said we've got to stay together. Now, does that mean that there are ruptions in the changing room, or is he talking about the fans and the team themselves? Does it mean that there can't be that split? I don't know, but yeah, Vicario has. If it wasn't for him, Chris, we could have lost, like you say, 7 or 8 today in other games. He has saved us. I'm not convinced this team are buying into what they're being told. I'm really not.
You know what? Let me just bring 2 things to the table, all right? When we go 1-0 down today, what was the reaction? How did we move the ball forward and try and get back in the game? I didn't see it, bro. And this is the second time that I've seen, after being a goal down or having a negative first half performance, us going into half time and coming out with no reaction, bruv. Not one.
Yeah.
That's what troubles me.
It's a really good point, Ricky. And as Si said about the forward line and the quality of the forward line, and as I've said many times, certainly this season, when you go from a forward line that consists of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son to the forward line, any forward line in the Premier League, how do you go from Harry Kane and Heung-min Son to any forward line and it still be as good? It's never going to be as good.
It's true.
But that lack of creativity, and like I said again, I don't want to be a broken record, but how many times have we been talking on this podcast saying, in the first half or the second half, we've had no shots on target. There's been no creativity. And it's interesting that you brought up that Sky Sports piece, because Thomas Frank almost said in the tactics that he doesn't really like his team to be shooting out, from 20 odd yards or whatever outside the box. He likes to get the balls crossed in and the strikers then scoring from 6 yards out. There's not even any of these sorts of... there's nothing, is there? I know Si's shaking his head there. There's nothing.
No, nothing.
You don't like a shooting from 20 yards, but Richarlison scored his goal from about 45 today. So that's probably right upsetting, isn't it?
Can I make a point, Chris, on that? And it was telling what Thomas Frank said in the clip that you played. If you're going to turn around and say, well, we wanted to get to half-time at 1-0 down, really? So you can restructure it? No, surely your players are good enough to say, no, we want to get to half-time at least level, maybe 2-1 up. The mentality is wrong. The mentality is wrong.
Yeah, but Si, when the manager's saying that, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
You should be,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. That's my point. Is that if that's what the manager is telling them, don't worry, if we're 1-0 down and we get to half-time and we can restructure it. No, it's not good enough. It's a mentality thing.
Look, I know, far from it. I don't want to give Thomas Frank a bashing on here, far from it, because I'm willing to give him time. But when you're talking about mentality, when you're coming out and saying after the Manchester United game, we only conceded 5 chances against them, I'd have taken that at the start of the game. And then even after that game, when we'd just drawn 2-2 and we were 2-1 up in the 95th minute, and then after the game, he was then high-fiving fans after the match. I couldn't understand it, actually. And I come away from that game feeling like that was a defeat. But then I felt that Thomas Frank, especially in the press conference and the post-match interviews, he was happy with that result. And I thought, what does that do to the players when a manager says that he's happy with that?
Even that's what I'm saying. Words and actions.
So late in the game.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Words and actions, they mismatch all the time. You say a bad performance, a great performance. We got away with a draw today. Great performance. You're like, what? There's so many times that it's confusing. We're so confident we're going in. We're not going for a 0-0. Are you sure? What was that first half about then? Are you sure? Yeah. Words and actions, bro. And this is what's troubling. Look, I want, as everybody, as soon as somebody's wearing my shirt, our shirt, as soon as they've got all their for sale or on their chest, bro, I'm with them, right? And I want them to do the best that they can possibly do. Bring your best. Show me your best. Do you know what I mean? But I look at these things and I go, well, if he does have Kulu, if he does have £100 million player, is he still going to play 8 defensive players? Do you know what I mean? Eight players that are going to be defensively minded. Like we need to see the switch, and not just against quote unquote smaller sides, but we need to see the switch when we going up against our rivals or when it matters, bro. If today was a cup final, is this how we're going to go play? To try and eke out a 0-0 at half time, or do you know what I mean? Exactly what Si was saying then. If we're 1-0 down at half time, that's a good half. What are we talking about here? Like, so that has to come from him, right? Because now we're building up a catalogue. If Chelsea was a one-off, bro, I'd go, you know what? All right, and cool. Great blip, great learning curve, and look how we turned it around there. But when you come up against our rival, that's what I'm saying. Today was like, it's an indictment, bro. And he did have quote-unquote creative. He could have played Sarr. Sarr started the season like a train on fire. It was all about give him more minutes and let him grow. This is going to be his season. Bro, for me, he was undroppable because he gave you that box-to-box. He gave you both of those things. Not only was he there in the defensive side, but he drove the ball forward. Plus, he was getting shots from where, Craig? Outside the box. Do you know what I mean? You know, so why is that? Is that why he got dropped? I know there was a little niggle on international duty, but is that why he's got dropped now because he took a shot from outside the box? Like, what so the tools that he's got, I'm not seeing him use to the best of his ability.
Before we talk about the goals that we'll get through quite quickly, Si, let me come to you on the league position. Spurs are down to 9th, 18 points now from 12 games. We're almost a third of the way in the Premier League campaign. But as I mentioned earlier, we're only 3 points above 14th place. Newcastle, they have 15 points from 12 games. Are you worried about the league position? Because all I've heard these last few weeks from a lot of pundits, a lot of fans, a lot of people trying to be positive about us, they've been saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're in a really good league position." But some of the more realistic fans have been saying, "Well, actually, we're only 3 or 4 points above X place." Are you worried about the league position right now?
Personally not, because I just think there are teams we're going to beat. That we have got some good players to come back. Let's be honest, and we've also got a January transfer window where we can fix some of the ills that we have at the moment. But then that comes down to what backing he will get. Look, do I think we can beat Fulham? We're capable of it, but again, you have to pick the right team and the right system. As Ricky said, the right players, whether it's Sarr, Bergvall, whatever you want to do, you got to pick the right players to get the job done. So we're capable of winning these games with the squad we've got. But we're all sitting here, so we're all saying the same thing in different rounds. You have to dare. You have to do. You have to pick teams that are trying to win games. Do I think that we will beat? I don't know. Pick whoever you want. Will we beat? I don't know. Forest at home, probably. Will we beat Forest away? Probably not. Will we pick up points against Leeds at home? Probably. You could go down them all, couldn't you? That where we could pick points up. But I do think it will have, just getting a Kulusevski back, even if it's for the last 4 months of the season, will make a difference. And that will create more creativity where we can make chances. But then again, for me, if you've got a Richarlison on the end of them, apart from, the odd bit here and there, are we going to take him? No, he needs 6 chances to score 1 goal. Whereas, a Solanke probably needs 3 chances to score 1 goal. So it's important that we get the players back. But the league position, if you're saying to me, where do I see us being by Christmas and what's the right position for us, round about 10th or 11th is about right, because we're not playing that well. We're not as bad as the teams at the bottom, in my opinion, but we're not that great either, are we? So probably around about mid-tables is where we're at, unfortunately.
So just very quickly, because you're the one who's mentioned about the creative players and the forward players in the front line, Randall Colomwani, who featured for Spurs today off the bench wearing a mask. Now, he's played in 5 Premier League games, started 3. Played 215 minutes. He's only had 1 shot, which actually went wide. XG 0.1. What have you made of his time at Spurs so far?
Well, it's been stop-start, hasn't it? I mean, he's got no match rhythm at all, is he? Because he was out injured for a long period, and this is why I am saying even if we got Solanke back or we get Kulu back, it takes them a while to get their match rhythm. And you're only as good as the rhythm that you're in. But that I think he's given us glimpses of what he can do. He's obviously got talent. Is he a natural goal scorer? Well, his time in Germany would say he is. His time in France would say he isn't. His time in Italy would say he is. So we've got to give him, a run of games to get his match rhythm and see whether he can do it or not. It doesn't matter. Look, everybody says to me about Richarlison, that guy is not a natural goal scorer. His biggest Premier League season was scoring 13 goals, isn't it? 13 goals, something like that. That's not a goal scorer. That's a winger who has a good season, probably. So that's what we're fighting. And if you really, you know, if the Lewises really mean business, bust the bank, bust the money, go and get yourself an Ozyman or a whomever. Go and get the players that will finish the dinner. That's the kind of player you're talking about that will make a difference. Go and get yourself a left-sided player like a Semenyo that will create chances for you, and then you're taking the pressure off of the other players
Craig.
all round. So, but Moani could do all right.
Craig, on Si's point there about Semenyo, and I know I'm going a little bit off topic now, but I feel like we have to mention this because the likes of you and I desperately wanted Eberechi Eze at our club for this season, and we've wanted him for many years, I might add. But Antoine Semenyo, you know, is doing fantastically well for Bournemouth. We know exactly what he's about. He would fit in perfectly in this Tottenham Hotspur side, I can tell you, and on that left-hand side. And how important is it that Spurs do show ambition in the January window? Because David Ornstein a couple of days ago came out and said, look, we know the release clause. It's very easy for a club to go in the January transfer window and say, look, there's the money, and the player goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, because people say deals are difficult to get done. You match that release clause, and essentially the player obviously has to want to come to Tottenham, but you go and get the deal done. You should be going on the 1st of January. That's what Spurs should be doing. They've had long enough to sort it. How many times have you waited? Yeah, I get some deals can trundle on till the end of the window. We've seen that enough with Tottenham. Harry Redknapp hanging out of his car window. I get that. I get all that. But this deal, it was there in the summer and we didn't go for it. Signs a new deal, but rumour mill starts again. Semenyo's not played it down at all. He's said, usual stuff, concentrating on his current club, fine. But come on, put the money in. It's like Si said, whatever player you want. Even more so now than ever, it's incredibly important we have a big window in January because it's quite clear this squad is paper thin again. Too short Tottenham, 100%. That's a great saying. Couldn't agree more. We need more help. Whoever the manager is, if Frank does survive that long, he's going to need more help. He's going to want his players in. So go and get it done, Spurs. Don't dilly-dally.
Absolutely. Craig, let's stay with you. We're going to go straight in on the 36th minute. Trossard, of course, put Arsenal 1-0 up at the Emirates. Marino to Trossard, turned. It got a deflection. It went in the net. What did you make of this goal that we conceded?
Well, you can see there Trossard's right between, I think that's Spence and Danzo. Really good position for a striker. Bearing in mind, Arsenal did this to us today without a centre forward, a proper centre forward, by the way. Yeah. Great ball through, really clever ball, and just a good finish. Yes, deflected, but it was coming. To be fair, it was coming. Vicario made a good save from, I think it was Declan Rice shortly before that. It was coming. That was my worry. As soon as we went 1-0 down, I thought to myself, how the hell are we getting back into this game? Getting back into this game? I just felt we'd been set up for a 0-0. And it proved to be the case. But yeah, that was a good finish by Arsenal. But really, this space in the middle for Marino to pick that pass out, it was happening all game. Bentancur and Paulinho, where surely that's their sort of position. They should be in picking him up. But wasn't to be. Arsenal 1-0 up.
Ricky, did you feel safer? An hour and 15 before the game, 3:15, the team lineup come out, 3-4-2-1. Vicario, Danso, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Udogie, Paulinho, Bentancur, Kudus, Odobert, and Richarlison. Subs today: Bergvall, Gray, Johnson, Kinski, Mawani, Poro, Sarr, Simmons, and Tell. What were you thinking an hour and 15 before the game? Were you impressed with that lineup? Is it what you expected?
For me, my initial feeling was it was way too defensive. But I was hoping that he had a plan, and I was hoping that this it would be a counter-attacking type of team, and we would go in with aggression, in which, you know, not only was it said in the press conference, but we used against PSG. And that's what I thought he was going with. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what you bring to the table. Like, we know he is the man with the plan, right? So let's see what happens. But my initial feeling wasn't a good one, if I'm honest, mate. It wasn't like positive, like, oh, we're, you know, I didn't feel like it was an attacking team that was going to go out there to win the game and show them what we were about. It did feel very defensive, but I was just hoping to be wrong. I wanted to see what Frank was going to do with this side, and we free at the back and up against our rivals. But for me, it really didn't work.
Ricky, just very quickly, do you expect Thomas Frank to go with the same system and formation going into the PSG game on Wednesday, having seen what we've delivered today?
I hope not, bro. But can we just look at how far we've come in such a short time? You know, the way in which we played against PSG in that Super Cup, we should have been winners. We played like winners. We used so many tools to our advantage, and plus that aggression. And we were that far away from picking up another trophy. If you know, we went out on penalties, and going into this PSG game now, I don't know how my initial feeling is that we're going to go the same way as we went against the Gooners today. It's going to be that way inclined, and that is worrying for me. I think we need to show up, man. We're Tottenham Hotspur, but like at least go out, throw in a couple of punches, bro. This no shots on target, no shots being taken, mate. Like, not being able to get the ball forward up, it's doing my nutting. Like, we've got to go for something, and it really upsets me, especially in the cup competitions. Chris, we've been on here many a time speaking about cup competitions, right? Many a time we've spoken about cup competitions, and you know, you work so hard to get into the Champions League, and then to go and play like you're just there for a draw or at a whimper does my nutting. There was a time that I really lost my nut, was against AC Milan. Do you know what I mean? Under Conte, and after everything, after Italian press conferences where he was like, "Yeah, well, it means more to Italian teams and Italian fans," and I was like, "What, mate?" And this is what you brought to the table. Like, no fight. It was horrendous, bro. It was horrendous. And so if we and I'm getting that feeling, right? So if we go into that game again, cautious, defensive, I'm scared for us. But if we go in there with the same kind of gusto and go to win attitude, as well as being aggressive and solid, like we did in that Super Cup, then maybe the tide can turn.
Ricky, let's stay with you. Let's talk about Arsenal's second goal. It had to be Eze, didn't it? And as I don't know how many of us have banged on about trying to sign Eberechi Eze for many, many seasons. Of course, it was so close in the summer. The deal didn't get done. He eventually signed for Arsenal. What a quality player. We can't deny that. What did you make of the second goal that we conceded?
Do you know what? I think that the Gooners overall, they, you know, as well as being a set piece team, they played football today, which is also annoying. That's annoying. I wanted to cuss them out about playing set piece football and looking for the fouls and stuff like that, but they did play football. They did roll around a hell of a lot today and got every decision going. But we know all about Eze, and the thing is that yes, we was embarrassed in the summer. But if a player is phoning the Gooners the night before or the morning of, going, "You sure you don't want to sign me? I'm about to go to Tottenham," then you was meant to be at Gooners. I don't want you at the club if your heart is somewhere else, right? And today he turned up and rubbed the salt in the wounds today. I mean, he showed his quality. Great goal by them. And a really quality goal by Eze, and again showing all of the reasons why we wanted him at Tottenham. So. I don't want to say good luck to him, but, you know, well done. And
no, you don't need to say that.
Yeah, you know, let's keep it moving. This is like torture, bruv. I almost forgot about it. Now we've got to go through the damn goals. So I talk to him, mate.
We're being quick. We're being quick. Of course, it was at half-time. It was 2-0. Danso went off. Javi Simmons come on. So before we talk about the next goal, Danso, of course, going off. I wanted to ask you, the break in play that seems to happen all the time, Spurs taking a long time to take a set piece, even if it is a throw, even if it is a Kevin Danso throw. Does that frustrate you? Because I feel like it frustrates a lot of people, the time that a throw-in takes nowadays. Not only in a Spurs game, I might add, in the Premier League.
Yep. There's it drives me mad. Look, if you're going to use it now and again as a weapon, great, but not every single bloody time. That's ridiculous, and it is wasting time. And going back to the point about the formation, if you're going to play a 3-5-2 or a 3, whatever you want to call it, your wing backs have to bomb on. That's the best 3-5-2 system. Jed Spence isn't that kind of wing back. You have the one game where you set it up where Pedro Porro could be released, and you don't do it. And it just that drives me mad more than anything else, because that's the whole structure of that. And I think it was somebody else said you need a ball playing midfielder as part of your 3 in the middle, which we didn't have. And for me, if you're going to play, with 3 at the back, then you've got to have 2 up front. So you've got to put Kudus up there with Richarlison or however you're going to do it, and have that third midfielder, because in the midfield, between Rice, Marino and Zubimendi, they just bossed it. So that's why Arsenal had so much of the ball. And if we can see this as armchair pundits, why can't managers see it? And when we come out in the second half, like most things, we start every half. Honestly, for me, we start every half passive. So when Arsenal got the third goal, was I surprised? Not in the least.
Let's go there, Si, because of course at half time it was 2-0. Players go in. What do you think, Thomas Frank? What do you think his team talk was at the half-time break? Because honestly, you think, come out, show us something, show desire, show some passion, etc. I think it was around 35 seconds into the second half. Suddenly, it's 3-0.
Yeah, but again, it's the lack of intensity and the passion. Look, for me, your half-time team talk's got to be, look, let's get a goal back early, put them under pressure, and let's see how they cope with us having a go at them. But we didn't do that. We give away another, what in my opinion is a scruffy goal by giving the ball away deep in our half, which was how it all started. And that's it, game over. The game is gone when that third goal goes in. Even if we get a goal back, it's never going to come back. We're not going to come back from that far behind against a team like Arsenal. And they did.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
Looking at that image on screen, apologies to viewers.
I was going to say.
Look at the choices he's got. He's got Eze there. He's got, who's that? Trossard on the left and Calafiori even. It's incredible. How's he got that much space? Look at the space in front of Eze.
Yeah, but Craig, look at that again. If you count, take Spence out of it. There are 8 Spurs players all been drawn to the left-hand side of the pitch. That's schoolyard playground football. And everybody says that Angie's football wasn't structured. Just look at that. 8 players within, I don't know, a 20 square yard area of the pitch.
Who's marking who? Who's picking up who in that image?
Nobody's picking up anybody, are they?
Nobody.
And if you give, everybody's saying about Eze, blah, blah. He chooses to go where he goes. That's where he wants to go. But what you can't deny is if you give quality players like that the freedom of the Scumirates, then he's going to score, isn't he? He's going to score.
But Si, you know what? They've got that 17-year-old looking analyst that sits up in the stands and he's got the iPad and he's picking out. Tell me, what did he pick out and say? And then tell me what they said in that, to have that type of reaction in the second half after being 2-0 down in the first. There has to be something, Chris.
This is another point. This is another point that I want to make. So I'll stick with you on this one because how many times have we all said when Thomas Frank got appointed how pleased we are to have a tactician in charge? Now, when you have got somebody who he's very, very good at tactics and got a lot of staff around him as well who are very competent in this area, you would expect a lot more, especially in a North London derby, especially in a huge game like this, especially 30-odd seconds in to the second half.
No, totally. But all I can come back to is the point that I've made earlier. They can't be carrying out what he's asking them to do, because if you're telling me he sits in a press conference on a Friday and says, we want to start at high intensity, and then he says before the game, aggression, 3 times he said it. Aggression. And then they go and do something completely different. And my point with that would be, you can have as many tacticians and analysts as you want in the stand, but if the players don't actually do what they're being asked to do, well, you're 3-0 down. That's what happens. You're 3-0 down 35 seconds into the second half. That's what happens.
So where Craig is saying that he don't think that Thomas Frank's going to take this club forward, you're saying that Thomas Frank will take the club forward, but he needs different players, better players, because this group of players aren't fit enough to do what he wants them to do. Is that what you're saying?
That's my position on it. He needs some better players to do it, and the other thing that he needs is players that will actually do what is instructed with them. And if you go back to the Poch era that we all kind of pine for, what Poch had was young players who do what he told them. None of this showboating, whatever. The players that he brought through, then he sprinkled in a little bit of stardust with some more experienced players, and lo and behold, we're finishing in the top 4 every season, had a crack at the league 2 seasons. And also, what you got to remember as well is that Poch had quality up front, didn't he? Harry Kane. We don't have it. We don't have it.
I think that's the main thing for me is you're dead right, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. But when you say about players not doing what the manager asks, we've got internationals sprinkled throughout that team. You've got Paulinho, very experienced player. You've got Bentancur, he got sent off in the week, but experienced internationals. Can't these players do what the managers wanted them to do? They're all highly fit. It's not fitness. Why aren't they doing, if that's the case, side, why aren't they doing what the manager's asking them to do? And if any reporter should ask him in the press conference, you've asked them, you've said you want them to shoot, you want them to do this and the other, but they're not doing it. Why are they not doing it?
Exactly. Good. I agree with Craig. But just take that, the picture we had up where there's 8 of them on the left-hand side. How can, I'll put the question back to you, how can experienced players, look, Bentancur and Paulinho are next to each other. They're supposed to be a double pivot. Double pivot doesn't mean you play within 2 yards of each other. They're not doing what's asked of them. There is no discipline. And, I was vocal on the channel before Rodrigo Bentancur signed his new contract. I don't want him at the club anymore. I just don't want him there. I don't want a Bissouma. We've tried that. It didn't work. Thanks very much for your time. We need to move on. And again, if we're being serious, let's look at pick any player you want, a Wharton or a Rice or a Zubamendi, whomever. Do you think that they would play with such ill discipline as Paulinho and Bentancur did, or Bissouma and Bentancur did for last season, apart from the Europa League games? I don't believe they do, because they do what their manager told them. And also, they're intelligent enough players not to be like flies around the honey pot, or bees around the honey pot, when the ball's on one side. It's awful. Absolutely.
Do you know one thing that I absolutely hate in a North London derby is when I feel like a number of flying tackles aren't being put in from our team, and that's how I felt today. I felt like the Arsenal players wanted it more today, and that hurts me as a fan to see that in important games like this, because you want your players to show that grit, determination, and that fight and that passion. Get those tackles flying in. Get a yellow card if you have to, but show something on the pitch. Craig, there was a shining light for us in the 55th minute with Richarlison scoring from 45 yards out. Great pressing from João Paulinho setting up Richarlison. And then, it's nice to see Richarlison hit the back of the net, particularly so far out.
Look, there's no denying it was a good finish. Zubamendi was messing around on the ball, and it was a good pressing, as you say, from Paulinho. I don't think anybody expected Richarlison to shoot from there. Obviously, he didn't have any other options, so he just decided to go for it and saw Raya off his line. Great finish. You have to give Richarlison credit for that. But sadly, I never thought for 1 minute that was us back in the game. And that's how I feel about the team at the moment. 100% hats off. Great goal for Richarlison, but that didn't inspire me and think we're going to go on to get back into the game, sadly.
Craig, you said some magic words there. When you described that goal, you said Paulinho pressing, won the ball back, higher up the pitch. What happens? We score. Now, how many times did you say, Chris? Where were the tackles and the pressing? If you go back to that screenshot, right? Could you put that shot back up, Chris?
Of Richie?
Yeah, the one with the foot. There, look. Right, that's it. Look how many players we've got in the 2, 4, 6 players higher up the pitch, and we end up scoring. It's not rocket science, is it?
Yeah, but when you look at these stats, size, absolutely shocking. Total touches inside the opposition box. Tottenham 4.
It's awful. Just like you say, it's too passive, too timid. Not good enough.
Craig, I'm going to come back to you. On 76 minutes, of course, Arsenal then scored their 4th, and Eze hat-trick. What did you make of it?
Yeah, again, look at that image. Look at the space. 3 defenders going to close down. Who is that? Is that Trossard again? 3 defenders on him. Where's Romero? Romero's just jogging back. He must have been up the pitch for something. Had 2 options again. Is that Saka, and obviously goes to Eze. And how much time has he got? Just finished his hat trick. I think Udogie comes in, slides on his arse straight past him, gives him almost the sighter actually, bends it round Udogie. Great finish for Vicario, no chance. So fully deserved hat trick from Eberechi Eze today. I thought he was outstanding. But then again, Arsenal didn't need to be at their best. And embarrassingly, I don't think Arsenal got out of 3rd gear today. And that's the most embarrassing thing. And going back to what you said, Chris, about blood and guts and tackles flying in and, Roy Keane saying, smash into somebody. Didn't happen. Did not happen today. Nothing like that. Very sad.
On 66 minutes before Arsenal scored their 4th, Sarr and Cowlin came on for Bentancur and Odegaard. And on 78 minutes, another double sub, Johnson and Porro coming on for Kudus and Spence. Final question for you all. Of course, we're in Champions League action on Wednesday. PSG are currently 5th in the Champions League table. Spurs are 10th. PSG, of course, are leading the way in the French league on top of the table. Ricky, this is going to be a very different game to the Super Cup final. And I know we'll sit here and talk about the positives from the Super Cup final. Yes, it was a great game. Yes, we should have lifted that trophy. But it is also fair to say, to add a bit of balance, that they were only in training for 3 days leading up to that Super Cup final and did have some players missing. This is going to be a very different game, isn't it, in Paris?
Yeah, it's a competitive game, and you know what it's like. You know what Paris Saint-Germain are like. They've got a phenomenal team, and if we allow them to attack, they will attack, and they will do possibly worse than what the Gooners done to us today. But we have seen what has happened when we challenge another team. Like, give them a challenge. Give them a challenge. Go for them. Like, I'm tired of this fear. I'm tired of seeing the boys play scared. The passes being slightly too short or overhit or going to nobody. I'm tired of the frustration. I'm tired of the ending up on the floor. What happened to being brave? Like Craig said, and like you said, Chris, what happened to there is to do? And that's what they need to do. That's what they need to bring to the table when it comes down to PSG. But Chris, I just had one flash of a memory during the game. Okay, the Gooners were singing. I think that they were singing, but this is what my question is to you: Were they singing "Are You Tottenham in Disguise"?
I think they did sing that once, yeah.
Mate, do you know what? I just remembered that. Are you Tottenham in disguise? I think that's damning enough. When the Gooners are singing, "Are you Tottenham in disguise?" because we was playing such anti-football that we didn't turn up for nothing. How many times have we? Go on.
They sang a number of things, Rick, but we don't need to talk them. We don't need to talk about them anymore. We're on to the PSG.
All right.
We've forgotten about them now. We put it to one side.
It just flashed in my brain, but yeah, hopefully,
Sodom. We're on to PSG.
Hopefully, Tottenham can grab their cojones and take it to PSG and go out there and get a not only positive result but a positive performance.
Si, how are you feeling ahead of Wednesday's game?
Probably as resigned as I was before the one today. I looked at the PSG team yesterday, and they rested their players, but they brought on Ruiz, Kvaratskhelia, Bradley Barcola, etc. They brought them on with about 20 minutes to go yesterday, just to get them nicely warmed up for Wednesday for us. And when you looked at their team before they even started, it was a strong team. And then they're bringing players like Ruiz, Kvaratskhelia and Barcola off the bench. So how do I feel? So probably as resigned. I would say it's a free hit to go and have a go at them, but I don't recall us doing that this season. So, let's talk about Fulham, shall we?
Well, okay. What are you expecting in the Fulham game?
In the Fulham game, I expect us to win. To be quite honest, I think that's a team that's kind of set up for us. That we could probably do better against. I look at Fulham and I don't see the threats up front for Fulham, or the threats that they have got. Our players are more than capable of containing the threat. So, of the fixtures we've got coming up, the Fulham and the Brentford game, we should be really having a go and focusing on those. Look, Wednesday, if you really want to have a go, pick a team and you just take the handbrake off them and say, look, just go and have a go. If we lose 7-0, we lose 7-0. If we lose 1-0, we lose 1-0. If we draw or do anything better, great. But just go and have a go. Just forget about, defending and putting a defensive performance and coming away with a point. No, just go. Or be a Spurs team. Go and have a go.
Do you know what, Si? Like Ricky said earlier, you try so hard to get into the Champions League. It's extremely difficult to get into the elite competition in European football, right? Yeah. And I know you're joking, but you've dismissed it straight away and just wanted to go on to the Fulham game. Isn't that a shame, that we feel like this because you just want that game to pass?
Yeah, well, no, it's not that. It's the fact that the reason I'm saying is that I don't want it to pass. I want to enjoy it, but I won't enjoy it if we play. No, but if we play timid football like we did today, where am I going to get any enjoyment from that if we're going to go and play timid football, not have a go? The one thing about the Super Cup when we played it, we set up the way that we did, but we played two up front. Kudus and Richarlison played up front together. And we did have players going down the outside, and trying to get some crosses in. And we did actually cause them some problems at the back. But look at what we did today. If we turn up with that attitude and those kind of, plans to sit back and get a 0-0 or a 1-1, we won't, for starters, because exactly what happened today will happen. So let's move on to the next game because we won't have a go. And that's all I want is, we've said it, you've said it, Chris. We just want our Spurs teams to have a go. That's all. So have a go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all. Yeah. We should always be always. Yeah. Craig, how do you think we're going to get on Wednesday with a team full of Ballon d'Or nominees?
I must the same as this comment. This really made me laugh. PSG could play president, go on the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they'll still spank us all over the place. Have to agree. I can't see anything but a PSG win, actually. I'm sorry to say. There's nothing I've seen today that gives me any confidence at all that these players will get anything out of PSG. Yeah, that's it. I can't see us even drawing. To be honest, Chris, I think it could be a very long night on Wednesday. Yeah. Sorry.
Is that it?
That's it. I haven't got anything else to say. I can't think of anything to say positive about it, other than it's not very far from a go. Yeah, they won't come back with jet lag.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair. Right. Okay. Craig, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's always very, very difficult talking about these sorts of games, talking about these sorts of situations. I know some people like what we say, some people don't like what we say, and some people are somewhere in the middle of thoughts and feelings about our football club, about the style of play, about us being entertained, not being entertained. Thomas Frank, etc. But we feel what we feel, and we say what we say. Everything is from the heart, and we all want the same thing. We all want us to win. And we all want us to be successful. But as Ricky and I have said, we're willing to give it time, and hopefully things do turn around, and hopefully Thomas Frank does get the best out of our players. Craig, thanks so much. You'll be hosting the PSG podcast on Wednesday. Good luck with that.
I'll be hosting the loss to PSG. I thought you said there for a second.
No. I didn't say that. Actually, give me a score prediction before you go, Craig, and tell everyone where they can find you.
At Dearman on X, if you want to follow me. Score prediction. I'm going to go 3-1 PSG.
Ricky, how's the podcast going? What are you up to at the moment? Any more acting jobs? And it's always nice, even though we've lost, you always bring that little bit of positivity and have a nice smile on your face.
Try, my friend. We try. You got to be positive. You never know. Anything can happen tomorrow. So it could all turn around tomorrow, and we could have a phenomenal performance and come out 5-0 winners against PSG. It could happen. It probably won't, but it could happen. You never know. But you got to have belief in you. You got to.
I'm constantly telling people that we're realistic on this podcast, and you come out of crap like that.
But also I also do the delusional fan bit, especially when it comes down to predictions. I don't like this bit here. Do you know what I mean? So I'll be delusional because I can't ever back my team to lose. It won't happen. It can't come out of my mouth. So fingers crossed it all turns around, and fingers crossed that we see a team that wants to be in that Champions League and wants to fight to go to the next level and progress through the rounds and continue in this competition and show why you wanted to be in it, not just for being in its sake, but for showing up and showing what we are, when we wear that badge on our chest. So go out there and do it. My score prediction will be 2-2. I'm going to go for a 2-2. Desmond. So, but yes, what have I been doing? No acting right now. Been auditioning. A podcast is going really well. Episode 5 of Tea Talk and Tottenham is out right now. Type it all in as one word. Don't separate anything. No punctuation. Just type it in as one word. Because some people just get podcasts on tea and they're like, Rick, where are you? And I'm like, you got to do it one word, bruv. Do you know what I mean? So yes, episode 5 is out. Really, really good episode. Enjoyed that one. And still finding our feet though, Chris. Still finding our feet. I've got gigs happening around the country. I'm going to be in Oldbury on Saturday, I think it is. I've got to check the date actually. Yes, I think Oldbury. I'm at Oldbury on Saturday. It's a reggae lovers rock night. I'll drop it on my Instagram. But yeah, trying to keep busy, brother. Trying to keep busy. Missing you, gentlemen. We need a drink and we need a catch up, as always, because it's been far too long. But always an honor and a pleasure being on with you, lovely people on the screen with me right now, and all of you beautiful people around the world. Win, lose or draw, we're here together. We get through it together. We try and have a rant and let out our frustrations, but also find some solutions at the same time. And hopefully we're all smiling at the end of this season, and we've got something to shout about, fingers crossed. So we'll get through it. It's always a bumpy ride. But this is Tottenham Hotspur, and it wouldn't be any other way, would it? So we'll keep it going. And I will be here after PSG as well. So I shall see you then. Come on, you Spurs.
Well, I wish you luck with that as well. Si, very quickly, because my battery is about to go. So where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on the Spurs Chat Podcast doing my Foxy Feelings, and you can find me on Twitter and the handle that's on there. And just love and thanks to all the big Spurs family out there. That's thanks for your support for the channel. We love it. And finally, I just want to tell everybody before you see me next, I'll have had my elite hair appointment, and I'll come in with a mohawk to the next one.
Do you know? I was going to say before you left us. I was going to say, you and Craig this week on the channel have been obsessed with talking about Tottenham's new sponsor or partner to do with your hair, you two.
We have to be.
Gotta be.
We have to be.
Gotta be. Yes, elite hair. Go to Turkey.
Do you get discounts?
Come back with the teeth done as well.
If they're after another sponsor,
Well, I'll get one free, Craig and Si, yeah.
Can I just say one other thing, Chris? If we get something like Mehmet's Molars to sponsor the South Stand, instead of having a tifo, we can have a titho.
Oh my goodness!
What a great way to end.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Craig, Ricky, and Si, because, as I mentioned many times before, it's very hard sometimes coming on this podcast, hitting the record button and talking for nearly 2 hours about such a heavy defeat, a poor performance. But let's hope that things do get better under Thomas Frank, and so we're all smiling again. But have a great week, everyone. Let's hope that we can enjoy the PSG game in the Champions League on Wednesday. And thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.